Being a member of the Canadian Forces requires dedication and perseverance. In order to apply, you must first meet a few basic requirements. To join the regular force, you must be a Canadian citizen. You must be 18 years old or 17 with parental consent. You must also have completed grade 10 or secondaire 4 in Quebec. Full-time students can join the reserves at 16. The minimum contract length for the regular force is usually 3 years, but contracts are longer for paid education programs. Part-time employment in the reserves does not have such obligations. There are also minimum medical standards and general appearance regulations to follow. Knowing these ahead of time will help when you make your decision to apply. If you decide a career with the Canadian Forces is right for you, there will be 6 steps to your application process. Step 1 is to submit your application. The process is the same for full and part-time positions. You will first create a secure account to fill out the application form and submit it electronically. You will then need to mail in photocopies of your birth certificate, a piece of government-issued photo ID, transcripts from your highest level of education, proof of trade qualifications or professional licenses, and any additional forms required for the specific job or program you selected. Step 2 is to fill out reliability screening forms. This ensures that you are trustworthy with sensitive information and equipment. The Canadian Forces will verify all the information you submit, so be completely honest when filling out the required forms. You will also need to provide personal references who are not family members. You must then disclose any legal obligations, such as parole, or how you plan to repay any significant personal debts. You may also need to provide your fingerprints for a criminal record check. If you have ever lived outside of Canada or have an immediate family member who lives outside Canada, you will have to complete an additional questionnaire. When this clearance pre-assessment is required, it can take between 6 to 18 months to compile the necessary documents from security forces in other countries. Step 3 is an aptitude test to determine which military occupations are the best fit for you. Preparation is key, so make sure to download the practice test at forces.ca to get a sense of the questions, format, and time restrictions. Rewriting the test is only allowed in certain conditions, so make sure you are healthy, well-rested, on time, and careful with your answers. Step 4 is a 2-part medical exam. First, there is a questionnaire on your medical history. You will need to provide specific information about your medications. Then the medical staff will conduct a physical exam to measure your height and weight and evaluate your vision, color perception, and hearing. The second part is the medical file review to determine any limitations that will affect your training and career. Part-time employment in the reserves also requires that you pass a fitness test. You may be asked to submit additional reports from your doctors, which are your responsibility to secure. The application process will take longer if the Canadian Forces medical staff requires official letters from specialists on your behalf. Step 5 is an interview with a military career counselor. It is your official job interview and a very important step. The application process is very competitive. You will be asked questions about your work history, knowledge of the Canadian Forces, and understanding of the job you selected. Do your research by reading about life as a military member at forces.ca and do a lot of personal reflection on what you want from the Forces. Remember that every career in the Canadian Forces, including part-time employment, requires you to be combat ready. The 6th and final step of your application is enrollment. If the Canadian Forces offer you a job, you will have 10 days to make your decision. If you accept, you will receive joining instructions to explain the next phase, including an enrollment ceremony and basic training. This is when your true commitment begins. To learn more about the Canadian Forces application process, click Apply Now on forces.ca.